Well, hello, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? Wanted to do a quick sound check since we're at the half hour mark. And I know we got lots of folks that just tuned in. So, hello, everybody. For those of you that are just tuning in, welcome. Welcome to your week 6 SNHU 107 Learning Community webinar. Folks, tonight we are going to talk briefly about this week's week 6 assignment, okay? Because I know it could be a little confusing, so I'm going to break it down. And then we're going to spend some time getting to know the academic support team and the writing services, how to find them, why you might want to use them. And then I'm going to go through the whole template of your final project. So if you are a little apprehensive or feel overwhelmed or nervous about Module 7's final project, take a deep breath because we're going to go through it step by step tonight, a whole week early, okay? That way you feel prepared and have your questions answered. Does that sound good? So first and foremost, folks, your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is important to us. It's our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of instruction or course design that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the Online Accessibility Center, the OAC, as soon as possible at 866-305-9430. You can also email the Online Accessibility Center at oac@snhu.edu or visit the Online Accessibility Center website. A lot of students don't understand what the Online Accessibility Center team does. Folks, they are a wonderful group of humans that help you get content like classroom content, events, activities, things that are accessible for you in a way that works best for you. So if you have questions about this or want to know more, reach out to them directly, or you can always go through your advisor too, okay? Couple of housekeeping items. You guys don't have microphones or cameras. They're not turned on, okay? You just need to be able to hear me, which it sounds like everybody can hear me. It's nice to have the cameras and mics off because it gets a little crazy when there's a whole bunch of students. As you guys know, we're in week 6 now. These webinars are usually posted on Monday morning, super early, every single week. But this week is live, but it is still recorded. So when we get done tonight, I'll have this up within the next 24 hours where you have found all the other webinars. Does that make sense, folks? I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that tonight is live, but it is recorded, so you can go back and watch it as many times as you need to. Remember, we're in an academic space, just like you're in a classroom, so always be mindful of your conduct. And then just a reminder, these webinars, they're not mandatory. There's no extra credit points. They're not graded, but hopefully you will learn something and have a little bit of fun. So before we dive in, I wanted to talk about week 6, but before I do that, I want you to tell me so far, what is your favorite thing that you have enjoyed about this term so far at SNHU? Like, just give me a one-word thing, or just tell me, like, what is the favorite thing or something that you're just super proud of so far this term? Because I think often we forget what is going well. It's really easy to find things we can pick apart, right? But what is something that you're like, gosh darn it, you know what? I'm good at that. Like, I'm getting a good grade. I'm showing up. I've started school. Look at you guys managing your time. You're getting that feedback. Like, you're here, learning new things. Like, that is so, so, so important. And I want you to remember this because as you navigate from class to class, life changes in a second. So just remember, like, what are the things that make you feel good and how to keep putting those things in place, right? Because folks, I have to congratulate you. You're officially past the halfway point. And I promise you that these next few weeks always go quickly, but when you throw in the holidays, it feels like it goes even faster. So that's a big reason why we like to do this webinar earlier. That way you can get your questions answered and know what you're doing and plan ahead for this final project. One housekeeping item that I did forget is that if you have a question, pop it in the chat room, okay? Because if you just raise your hand, I see hands raised, but I don't know who they belong to. So if you have a question, always just pop it in the chat and I will do my best to catch them tonight. But if for some reason I miss it, don't hesitate to email me or post a note in the SNHU Connect Learning Community and I will get back to you guys, okay? So Hold on just a second. I am going to share my screen and walk you through the week 6 assignment. Please know that Adobe Connect can be a little sassy. If for some reason it kicks me out or does something funny, hold tight. I will be back. I have multiple sources to get back in that sometimes it can kick me out. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. So hold on just a sec. I'm going to share my screen. Too many things open. Okay, so, all right, can you guys see my screen okay? And I am going to turn the controls on. So you guys might see this like grayed out looking box. I'm going to see if I can move it. Sometimes it doesn't like me to move it. So if you see like a grayed out box or a black box, it's it's the controls. So, oh, thank you. I do love those children. They're a lot sometimes, but I love them. Boys keep you busy, right? So week 6, folks, really quick. The biggest thing with this assignment is if you are struggling with this, I want you to know that you are not using your goals that you wrote for week 4 or your mission statement for this assignment, okay? So this assignment, what you're doing is opening up the document, the template, right, under Module 6, and you're going to read the sample mission statement. So here under number 1, it says, my mission statement is to, without a doubt, do great in every class I take so I can get my bachelor's degree. I want to work in business because it's rewarding. I hope to provide for my family and make the community better. There's so many good things about what this statement is, right? But it's missing things that we learned about for our mission statement, right? So underneath that, it says sample instructor feedback. That's basically a fake instructor grading it and saying like, hey, you're missing these things. Your job is to rewrite the mission statement, how it should look based off of the feedback and what is here. Does that make sense, folks? You're not putting your mission statement from week 4. You're not putting your goals from week 4. You're literally just opening it up, looking at this sample fake student that wrote this mission statement that's obviously missing things. You're going to see what their faculty member said, and you're going to rewrite it, okay? And then you're going to do the same thing for 3 goals. So you'll notice underneath number 2, you're going to see sample goal number 1. The student said, I want to get straight A's. That's awesome, right? But what is it missing, folks? We don't have a due date or a deadline of when they're going to do it. We don't have like how they're going to do it, right? So again, here's the goal that they wrote, and then here's the feedback from their instructor. So you're just going to rewrite goal number 1. That's all you're doing, okay? So great question, Selena. So when we learned about mission statements in week 4, we learned that we want to like say what degree we're getting, you know, what we're going to be in that profession, and then how we're going to like help our community, right? Everybody? So that's basically the same thing that you're doing for this assignment. You're just going to use the sample information. Does that help answer that question, Selena? So again, you just have a mission statement that somebody wrote. The faculty gave them feedback on it. You're going to rewrite and basically fill in the blanks of what they're missing. You're going to do that for also 3 goals. So the first goal was just, I want to get straight A's. Awesome, but it's missing things that we learned about in week 4, right? We don't grant any microphone rights. Sorry, guys. I'm going to shut that for you guys. So no sound, or I mean, you guys need to hear me, but no microphone and no camera. So the same thing for second goal was my second short-term goal is to ask for help with schoolwork when I'm struggling. Again, awesome, but it's missing things, right? So you're going to rewrite this sample goal and you're going to add in the things that they're missing. Does that make sense so far? So you're literally just taking what they wrote and you're adding it in, okay? And you're going to do that again. So sample goal 1, sample goal 2, sample goal 3, okay? So that's all it is, folks, okay? You are literally opening up the template, and your template will not have these yellow highlights, okay? But you're going to have what somebody wrote as a mission statement and their 3 goals, and then you're rewriting it based off of what the faculty member said that it's missing, okay? So that's week 6. It can be confusing. If you already did this assignment, get with your instructor and like let them know, like, hey, can I redo it, or see if they're okay with how it is. Again, that's up to your instructor. But the biggest thing is open it up. This is where reading the details and the instructions come in super, super handy. So open it up, take a look at it and then rewrite and add in what they're missing and what they needed to have in there from that faculty feedback. Okay. So that's all you're doing. Basically, in my opinion, it's like you get a chance to be a faculty member and you're rewriting it. Okay. So that's week 6. Do you guys feel good about this? Did that help like clarify this is what week 6 is? I want to make sure before I go on into anything else. Okay, perfect. So, and I apologize if you guys are seeing like all the responses. It's the only way I can see all the things. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that. Give me just a sec. And we're going to add this back in. Okay, so is my sound back for you guys? Sometimes when I switch between screens, it can take my sound for a second. So I want to make sure you guys can hear me again. Okay, perfect. So real quick, the final project academic success plan is a module 7 assignment. So we're talking about this a whole week early. Okay, everybody. Your project for week 7 is worth a significant amount of points. Okay, it's worth 250 points. So if you take anything away from this webinar besides you got this and you're amazing and you can do it, is turn this in. Okay, do not let all of your hard work this term go to waste by not submitting this assignment. If I can give you any advice, because I have had students doing very well in my own classes, not turn this in, and they didn't pass. Okay, do not let that be you. And the reason I tell you that is because this project, you guys, is really just connecting the dots. It's literally doing things that you have already done and learned about this term and putting it all together. Okay. Remember in week 2, when we first started, you guys had that first assignment about schedules and like your busy schedule and things that interrupt your time. Well, for the project, you have a schedule, a time log just based off of your week. So you did a day back in week 2. We're going to expand upon it in week 7. Okay. We're going to talk about it. You already drafted a mission statement and short-term goals, right? In week 4. For week 7, you want to make sure that you look at that graded feedback from your faculty about what you wrote in week 4 and make any changes. Common things are things missing like dates, not enough information, it wasn't specific. Okay. Most times out of all of the grades that I have for my students with the mission and short-term goals tend to be missing a due date or a start date. So your instructor should have told you what you're missing, given you some ideas so you can make those changes for module 7. Okay. The biggest thing is use the template. We're going to walk through it tonight and use your resources. Now, I know some of you guys said that you've already used the academic support writing services. Who has used academic support's written feedback tool? Tell me if you've used it and what you think. This is such a good time to utilize that team. So did you love working with them? Look at you guys like, yes, I love it. Yes, I love it. So our very special guest, Miss Allison Johnson, is unable to be with us. They have a power outage. She is getting a giant snowstorm and her power just went out. So she had just no internet and isn't able to run all of the things. She was able to get a quick text message to me. She feels terrible because she's absolutely awesome to work with. So I'm going to run through all of the things that she would normally tell you. But I want you guys to know that our SNHU resources, like the academic support team, your advising team, the help desk, the library, we're real people. So this is Allison. So say hello, even though she's not here. You know, she is the face of SNHU Academic Support. Her and her team are incredible. She used to teach high school English in a rural town that didn't even have a traffic light. Anybody like that? I know my hometown had like a blinking stoplight, you know, so like she knows what it's like to come from a small town. She has been an academic advisor for online students just like you. She was an advisor for a number of years. She loves to work with students who have been out of school for a long time or for a while. Anybody in that category? You've been out of school for a while, picking it up. Like that is one of the things that she loves. She's also a huge fan of stand-up comedy and has a collection of old comedy records, which I always think it's fun to find fun facts out about the people you get to work with all the time. So please know that Allison loves comedy records. And I, Melanie, love glitter. Anything glitter, I'm going to own it and I'm going to love it. So But the biggest thing about Allison is that she is one of the many, if you guys have not learned this yet this term, you have so many people and departments pulling for you and your success. You just have to reach out and utilize them. Okay, so let's talk about the academic support team and where to find them. So if you logged into Brightspace, they're right at the top. Did you guys know that? They're actually in a couple of places, but if you log in right at the top where you get to your course menu, there's academic support. Did anybody learn something new today? They're also underneath course menu. If you click on the course menu button, they'll pull up underneath there too. So there's multiple places. You can also click on online student services and find them there. Okay, so just know that this is how you find that team. Now, when you guys, you know what I might do? Hold on a second. Let me see, guys, if I can. Give me just a sec. I'm going to see if I can open up my class and just share it with you guys quick. So give me one sec while I flip screens, because that might be easier to show you guys. That way you see it from a live perspective, which I always like that better. Okay, hold on just a sec. I'm going to stop sharing this. We're going to go back to my screen. So going on the fly tonight. Okay, can you guys see my screen again? Making sure it's coming up for you guys. Perfect. Okay, so up here at the top underneath academic support, when you click on them, guys and gals, it might take a minute, so bear with it. It is going to open up this page. You're going to see at the top tutoring, 24/7 drop-in tutoring, which is awesome. I have students all the time tell me, especially as they get into some of their like math classes, English classes, science classes, how helpful drop-in tutoring is. There is some pre-scheduled support like academic coaching, which is more of a longer term relationship, and peer tutoring, which are two wonderful things to explore. Written feedback. That is where you want to click to actually submit your writing assignments, whether it's discussions, whether it's projects, papers, anything SNHU related. You'll upload it here, and that is where they will go through it and gives you some tips and tricks for your success. Did anybody learn something new? I always have students that are like, I had no idea that that is where that was. Okay. So as a reminder, you click on that academic support, right? It's the written feedback. But if you go through here, I also want to point out, so you have drop-in tutoring, written feedback, workshops. Guys and gals, there is so many workshops that they have on a variety of topics. Like the list of topics is crazy. There's all kinds of things that you can learn about. And the written feedback is mostly focused on like writing mechanics and grammar. However, they also look at the scope of your assignment to make sure that you're on track with answering the right questions. Does that make sense? That's the really nice thing, because does anybody use Grammarly? That's a free online resource that a lot of students like to use also, the free version of it, which is great for a quick grammar check. But Grammarly isn't going to necessarily check that you're understanding the scope of the assignment. So that's what's really great about the academic support team, is they know these assignments, they know your faculty, so they know what they're looking for, if that makes sense. As a reminder, there's academic coaching and peer tutoring, which are wonderful services that they offer. But a really quick feature that a lot of students don't realize that the academic support team has is the live chat feature. Have any of you guys ever used this? So basically, it is staffed, and you can just connect for a super quick question, like a really general question. Like if you're wondering about something about citation, or like how to find a resource, or like just have a question that's very specific to an assignment, but general, that is a really easy way to get a quick answer. So these are just some of the big things that the academic support team does. The biggest thing I wanted to make sure is that you guys knew how to find that written feedback, which very good, Christine, you guys all should have known from last week, your Module 5 assignment. But sometimes it's helpful just to have somebody kind of like walk you through and to click where everything is. So let me go back real fast. All right, so the other thing is, a lot of people don't realize that you can utilize the academic support team your entire journey here. Okay. It's not just for SNHU 107. It's not just for papers or projects. You can also use it for discussions or anything that's SNHU related. Okay. Now, if Allison were here, her and I have done this webinar together so many times. I think I can be her too and me. Is I always ask her tips and tricks that students need to be aware of as you guys work on this project. The biggest thing that Allison always says is for you guys to be yourselves. Open up the template and fill it out and answer the questions. Be authentic to yourself. Don't try to sound like somebody else. Take a moment. If you're stuck with writing it on the computer, print off the template and fill it in. Has anybody done that? Sometimes when we're looking at a computer screen, it's like writer's block, like, oh, it's just overwhelming, right? So take the template, print it off, handwrite it out, and then go back and type it. Also, she would say to take breaks. That's why we talk about this project so early. Work on this project in chunks or in pieces, answer a couple of questions one day, go back and do a couple more the next day, and then put it together and get it off to the writing team to review it. The biggest thing is you have to trust yourself. You're literally just putting together the pieces of the puzzle that you guys have been working on all term long, okay? Now, where are my folks that like to procrastinate? Where are you, my procrastinators? Procrastination is a skill set. I always joke about it because it's an art form to put all that stuff up. And Allison loves to share this quote, "Procrastination is the art of keeping up with yesterday," by Don Marquise. And so the reason she shares that is to let you guys know that if you procrastinate and you can't get your project put together and off to the writing team, some ideas for your success is to have like a friend or family member read it over so that they can make sure it makes sense. Because sometimes when we're writing things, it makes sense to us, but it might not make sense to somebody that's reading it because we forgot a detail or something like that, right? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? So especially like as a faculty member, there's often times that I can tell what a student is trying to say, but they're missing some of the details or the information. So it isn't always super clear and they'll lose points. So if you can't get it to the writing team, have a friend or family member look it over. Another idea is to start from the bottom of your project and work your way backwards. You'll catch spelling errors, you'll catch things you might have missed or a question you might have missed. So it's just a couple of easy ideas, just in case you procrastinate, can't get with the team, of ways to double check your work, okay? Now I'm gonna go through the template. Are you guys ready? I feel like you guys are nervous about week 7 and I don't want you to be. I want you to take a big deep breath because you've literally already done almost all the pieces and parts that are in this project. Okay, so I want you to remember that as I walk you guys through the project. So give me just a sec. We got a lot of switching screens today. Okay, I know. Matt, that's funny because it's worth 250 points. I know, you're right, it is. I know it's a big deal. And you know what? Sometimes it can be a really big deal to put all of these thoughts out into the world too. But remember, it's just going to help you know exactly what you're doing. So here's the project. You can find it underneath Module 7. Okay, under Module 7, click on the Final Project Academic Success Plan template. As I walk you guys through this, you're going to notice some highlights and some things that I have already filled out. When you open up your template, those highlights won't be there and it'll be blank. Okay, everybody? So first things first, I mentioned that you're going to have a time log. So you'll notice this is like a whole time log of a whole week. If you were a faculty member and you were grading this, let's say this is Melanie Shop's project, did I complete this time log? Anybody? What would you say? Is this complete? No. And why is it not complete? Somebody tell me why this is not complete. What's missing? Do you guys know? There are blanks. Carrie, yes. Please make sure that every single spot has something in it, because otherwise your faculty member is going to assume that that's personal time or free time. So be honest. This is only shared between you and your faculty member or anybody else that you share it with. Like your whole class does not see this. So be honest with what you're doing. You know, if you're at work, if you're at lunch, if you're putting kids down for nap time, if you're gaming, if you're having dinner with friends, if you're going out on the town, if you're working on your homework, like whatever it might be, you want to remember that somebody is reading this that doesn't know you super, super well. So make sure they can understand where your time is going. So that's how you do the time log, okay? You want to leave the time log so it looks like this, all right, but filled in. So don't try to get all creative. I mean, you can color code it. I've had students that have color coded it and all that kind of fun stuff. But you want it to look like this because it's supposed to be a picture of your entire week, okay? Does that make sense? The reason you're doing this is you're going to fill that out because in the second question, it's asking you to identify potential unplanned scheduling interruptions that may impact your schedule. So remember back in week 2, we talked about interruptions. So like, what are things that get in your way, folks? Time stealers, things like social media. Maybe you run a lot of errands or you have a lot of appointments for you or somebody you take care of. Maybe there's activities. So like, here's some examples. Now keep in mind, you notice it says interruptions, plural. So there shouldn't just be one thing listed. Pay attention to the details, okay? So here's some examples. Getting called into work when you're not scheduled to work. Kiddos needing attention. I was watching Netflix. I was on social media. Does that make sense? So flat tire, work schedule changes, somebody got sick, those are things you want to put down, but think about you, okay? So like, look at your schedule and be like, okay, like what throws me off? What gets interrupted, okay? Question number 3, identify how you would choose between tasks or events that take place at the same time on your schedule. Folks, this often students will be like, well, I would just pick this, but make sure you share why. Like you want to be successful in school, right? So how do you prioritize yourself and all the things that you need to do, want to do, and things that come up? You're going to write in a couple of complete sentences. So maybe you're like, for example, if you have dinner with family and a paper that's due, how do you pick what you're going to do? Why do you pick which one? Does that make sense, everybody? Couple of complete sentences, write in complete sentences. We good so far? We feeling good? Okay. The schedule that is for this project is just your most general schedule. Like, don't get hung up on it. You could do this week. You could do last week. For some of you guys, you might have shift work. So your schedule changes or your schedule changes from week to week. So just use your most general schedule, like what you're most usually doing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be complete. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. All right, number 4, identify the SNHU resources, plural, social supports, plural, and motivational factors, plural, that'll help you most with managing your time, okay? The reason I point that out is because often students will list just one thing for each. You'll miss points. So we've worked on this all term long, right? You know what are some SNHU resources. List them out. Academic support, advisors, help desk, anything SNHU related is a resource. Social supports. Folks, give me an example of a social support. Pop quiz. Somebody tell me what's a social support. Because, yes, very good. Friends, family, people, places, things outside of SNHU. So your advisor is not a social support, okay? Motivational factors, list at least 2, okay? Remember, these little notes will not be on your template. This is just my helping you kind of get through it, okay? So always list 2. And make sure you list out like what's going to keep you motivated and who's going to help you from a social support and a resource standpoint from the university on managing your time. Okay, your cat. That's a good cat. I like that. I always love when the pets are introduced out there. And social supports too, folks. Like for some of you, it might be you. Like it might be like you and your drive and like what you're doing. So like that's okay. That's, explain that. So your instructor knows why you're putting what you're putting. There's nothing wrong with that. Just detail it out so they understand it. Okay. All right. Question number 5, explain how you will take ownership of your future academic success by managing your time using all those things. So basically number 5 is you're just explaining like, okay, I know that I need to be successful in managing my time. I'm going to have to work with my family. Let's say I'm making sure our schedule for our family is set. Like I'm going to utilize my advisor to check in. I'm going to stay on top of things and use my university resources. And these things are going to keep me motivated to reach out to my time. Okay. Does that sound good? So basically you're just summarizing. Okay. Now the next part, this mission statement and goals, super important here, folks, super important. In week 4, if you did really well on the assignment, there was no recommended changes or edits or things missing, you can very simply copy your mission statement from week 4 and put it right here in these little brackets. See how I deleted that out? You just type, literally you're typing right in this template. Okay, guys and gals, so remember that, you just type right in here. Same thing with your 3 goals, okay? So if you didn't have any changes, everything looked good, you literally put them right here, 1, 2, 3. The biggest thing is make sure you carry over all 3 goals. It never fails. Somebody copies and pastes and they're missing a goal. Okay, everybody? So if you didn't have any changes for your mission statement, you're going to copy and paste it. You're going to put it right here. And then your goals are right underneath it for number 7. Does that make sense? Now, if you had changes, okay, like let's say you were missing with a career you were going to have or your major in your mission statement, you want to make sure you've made those changes and you put them here underneath the mission statement part. Let's say for your goals, you had changes, maybe you needed to be more specific, maybe you were missing a due date or a start date, make sure those changes are made. Because I'll tell you, when I grade these, I pull up my students' week 4 project and I compare it to week 7 and I go through it together. Does that make sense? So just remember mission statement and 3 goals. If you have questions and you get stuck, reach out to your instructor because they'll go through it. Of course, you can copy it over and make the changes here. Yeah, whatever you need to do. The key is, if you had changes for your mission statement or your goals, you want to make them on this project, okay? So you're not really starting from scratch, right? If you guys notice this is all stuff we've talked about before. So just go through it, answer the questions. All right, number 8. Why is setting goals on your academic journey important? Share your thoughts. Make this like 2 to 3 sentences, short paragraph, write and complete sentences, okay? Number 9. Now, this is similar to up top where we talked about identifying resources that you would, use for time management. This is resources to help you achieve your mission statement and goals. So once again, remember, you guys know this. We've talked about resources, SNHU resources all term long. So again, remember, you're going to insert resources, have at least 2. Pay attention to when you need to make sure you have more than 1. Okay, everybody? And then number 10 is very similar, but this one is a little bit different. So this says to identify academic skills and social supports to help you achieve your goals and mission statement. So what do you guys think is an academic skill? Somebody tell me. Give it a guess. Come on, don't be nervous. What is an academic skill if you had to guess? You guys are nervous. Things like, there you go, critical thinking, note-taking, time management, reading comprehension. Those are academic skills, okay? Social supports, again, is everything outside of the university, okay? And I saw a question I wanted to go back to just really quick. Hold on just a second. I want to scroll back up. I saw a question about week 4. And if you guys do need help on the week 4 goals, yes, there is a wonderful focus video and there's a webinar from week 4 that goes through that. So Liz, I think it was your question. If you have no recommended changes from feedback, can you make any changes on your own, or does that have to be exact? My advice is if you have no recommended changes from week 4, why change it? Unless like your goals have totally changed or your mission statement is totally changed. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? So if you wrote your mission and goals in week 4 and they were good to go, I wouldn't change them. But if you want to change them, maybe something totally, maybe your major changed or, things happen, I would recommend getting with your instructor and talking through that before you put it in your project, just in case they're not done correctly. I don't want to see you miss those points. Does that make sense? Okay, we're almost to the end. Number 11, identify motivational factors to help you achieve your goals and mission statement. Again, motivational factors, plural. So this is like what and who is your why. Type it out, put it in print. Like, why are you here and what and who is going to keep you motivated for your success? And then the last one is tying it all together. Explain how you're going to take ownership, right? You know the resources, the social supports, you have the academic skills, you know you need to manage your time, you know that life happens. Like, how are you going to keep yourself on track for your success? Does that help? That's it. That is all that is there, okay? That's it. Then you just save it, get it off to the writing team, have them take a look at it, and just make sure that you're on the right track, okay? And I saw a question from Nadia, do we only have to list our answers in number 10 or explain it as well? For number 10, you want to make sure that you're listing them. I always say, if they need an explanation, explain it. So more detail to me is always better than less, but I wanted to make sure that that answers your question. I think that you guys are talking about SNHU Connect. SNHU Connect is actually where you'll find the learning communities, like the SNHU 107 learning community is there. You have a Pulse login, which is the same as the login that you guys have for your SNHU credentials. And that's where you find like major groups, hobby groups, there's like military groups, there's parent groups, there's creative writing, there's Nerds Unite. I mean, there is so many different groups that are out there and classes that have specific learning communities. So that's what SNHU Connect is and where you can find that. So how are we feeling about the final project now? Did it help to go through this, like step by step? The biggest thing is, folks, remember, when you open up the template, you are not going to see all these highlights, okay? But the other thing I want to point out, so hold on just a second, is we're back in the classroom now. Underneath Module 7, and this is very helpful, Module 7, you will have a discussion, but it's not graded, so you don't have to do anything for Module 7. It's only if you want to like share feedback or give ideas. Do not post your project there. Here's that academic success plan, right? So let's click on this real quick because the requirements and rubric, I want to show you guys something. So it's going to go over your whole project like they do every week, right? But when you scroll all the way down before the rubric, here's the template. But folks, you have an example. Let's click on it. It's not perfect, but it gives you a very solid example of what your final project should look like. Now, keep in mind, do not copy this verbatim or any pieces or parts of it because it will get flagged. However, it gives you a solid foundation of like how things are filled out, because you can see how this is even different than what I had a little bit, right? How questions were answered, things to think about, okay? So this is where it's really important to go through all of these pieces and parts because it just puts everything together for your success. And this, again, the whole thing is right underneath Module 7, right underneath the template, okay? All right, folks, that is all that I have for week 7, but hold on one second. I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick. All right, let's see. I'm going to make sure I'm not missing anything. Just as a reminder, know how you're graded, use that rubric, nothing new there, right? Trust and use that template, open it up, look at the question, answer the question. You guys, this is nothing new. You've already done it, okay? You've already done pieces of that. It's just tying everything together. Don't forget about your resources. You know, the SNHU resources that are here, like the academic support team, the learning community, this webinar, your fellow peers, and remember just to be yourself. Folks, you have waited so long for so many of you to begin this journey, to be back in this journey. And you know, this project is really just writing all of it down. I have students that are now graduating or have graduated, and every time they get close to graduation, they send me a note, an email, and they're like, Professor Shop, remember that project that we did in SNHU 107? I pulled it out the other day, and I am so proud that I like kept doing all the things I said I was going to do. So heck yeah, right? So this is basically like a little roadmap for what you're going to be doing for the next part of your journey. It's going to give you a reminder of what's keeping you motivated, resources and people and places and things you can lean on. It's going to remind you of like taking a look at your time and seeing where it's going and like if you need to make changes for your success, right? So just remember, at the end of the day, always reach out and connect with your university resources if you have any questions or if you need anything. Reach out to your faculty, guys and gals. Do not be afraid to reach out to them and ask questions. We want you to ask questions. We would rather you do well on this assignment than not ask a question and miss points. So please reach out to us. Go back, watch this webinar, as many times as you need to. Use the academic support team. Allison is so bummed she could not be with you tonight. But just know, folks, at the end of the day, you got this. Like, we're so proud of you. And you should be so proud of yourself for everything you have done so far, for everything you have put into place, and just go out there and crush that final project. Okay. Last thing, if you get a chance, if you've watched the webinars or been a part of things, take the survey. It's really helpful for us to get information. It's anonymous. Nobody knows who it's from, but it just helps us make sure these webinars are really good for you guys. So thank you guys so much. Remember, you're going to be amazing. Get that final project turned in week 7. Work on it early. That way you can get it off the academic team and really enjoy your next couple of weeks. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your night, folks. And you got